Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I have an Urban Decay Naked palette video for you because at this point in time we have 6 Naked palettes that are available. At least they are still available here in the Netherlands where I live. So there are 2 of them that have been discontinued, which is the original Naked and the Naked Smoky, but you can still get these either on the official Urban Decay website or through the retailer here, which is Ici Paris, which is like a high-end like Sephora type place. And I'm pretty sure that if you live elsewhere that these palettes have already or are going to start popping up in like discount stores like Nordstrom Rack in the US or something like a TK Maxx. That's usually where these palettes end up. That happened for the electric palettes, so maybe you are still able to find these because I do think that they don't discontinue anything as long as they still have stock left. So these have definitely not yet disappeared. Since I have all 6 of them, I thought we could do a video talking about all 6 Urban Decay Naked eyeshadow palettes. And by the end of this video, I want to give you an impression of like how I would rank these from like the worst to like my favorite. I am a huge fan of Urban Decay eyeshadow. I need to put that out there that before we start this video. I am personally someone who's very much a fan of Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes. Some people have that with Too Faced or the Anastasia, but I really enjoy Urban Decay eyeshadows. I think they are very buildable. They may not be the most pigmented, but I feel they are never difficult to blend. In their Vice palettes, they have a couple of like really flaky, glittery shades. Those are a nightmare to work with, but I feel that in the Naked palettes, all of the shades work well for my makeup tastes. However, that being said, these palettes have gotten a lot of slack over the years. They started with lots of raving, but of course makeup preferences change, makeup formulations change. So I do understand why people aren't a big fan of these palettes anymore. I totally get it, but for my makeup tastes, what I like doing in terms of makeup, these Urban Decay Naked palettes give me what I need in terms of blendability, in terms of pigmentation. I pull stunning looks out of all of the palettes that I have with me here today and that we are going to be talking about in this video. So yeah, I am a little bit of an Urban Decay fangirl, so I do have to warn you if you feel that it's overly positive. I understand that people find there are too few mattes, that there aren't enough, like that you need to build them up, but those are things that I really don't mind. I don't mind putting a shimmer in the crease. I just don't. I have very sort of deep set eyes, so as long as the shade is dark enough, I can get away with it. That's pretty much how it works. Because I don't really have to create a crease because I already have one. So in terms of palettes, I have them here in the order they were released, but that's not the order in which I prefer them. And I thought we could go over it in that order from bottom to top, and then we'll get then we'll be able to talk about all of these. I will be showing you swatches as we go along. If I can sort of like dig out a makeup look that I once did with some of these palettes, then maybe I can insert those pictures as well. So I will be doing that when I edit it down. My least favorite Urban Decay eyeshadow palette from the Naked line would be the Naked Smoky. I completely understand why they discontinued this, because this is just not my color scheme. So this is what the Naked Smoky looks like. You get 12 shades, you get 6 mattes and 6 shimmers. I only still have this palette because I really like these 2 gray shades for a smoky eye. That's why I still have this palette in my collection. If it didn't have those shades, I would definitely have just decluttered it. I know that a lot of people love this. For me, it's a little bit too dark what it can actually do, and there are a couple of doubles from Vice palettes that I already had as well. So this is just not a palette that I reach for a whole lot. How often do I want to do a gray smoky eye? Not that often, but if I want to do it, then this is perfect. So that's why I do keep it around. I love the packaging of this as well, so that's another thing that it has going for it. But in terms of like how much I use it and the shades that it has in this palette, this is going to be my least favorite. And then this next one may come as a bit of a shock for you, because my next palette would be the original Naked palette. Again, I completely understand why they discontinued it, not for the actual performance of the palette, but because of the shades. This is my oldest Naked palette, and it probably looks barely used, and that's because these just aren't my type of shades. You can probably see that I've used the shades like here in the middle the most. Most people went with these ones. Like if you see anyone who's panned this, then 9 out of 10 times people have been panning these like lighter shades at the top. Those are just a little bit too light for my makeup preferences. As I said, I already have a crease. So for me to put anything in the crease, I would already start with Buck. And then I kind of like go in with these ones here. I never really understood why these grays were in here. Those I've hardly ever used at all. Toasted is one of my favorites. I really like Smog. I like Half Baked, but it's a bit too yellow for a gold for me, for my personal tastes. And I really like Dark Horse. So what I always end up with this palette is like a bronze sort of like glamour look. That's what I pull out of this, and that's what I like. But I only really like that kind of look on myself in the summertime, because then it's I'm a little bit more tan, and then these like bronzes and warm browns work better on my skin tone. That's why this is somewhere near the bottom for me. Personally, I don't mind this not having so many mattes. I put Smog and Dark Horse in the crease plenty of times, and I think it still looks stunning. I will definitely keep this around, but it's not my favorite Naked palette. Now, the next Naked palette I want to talk about, I think is actually everyone's favorite so far, and that would be the Urban Decay Naked Heat. Again, it's not the quality of the shadows why this is number 4 on the list. This is purely because of the color scheme. Again, I love the packaging, but the color scheme of this is just incredibly warm. This is orange and reds, and I do really like that, but like the Naked original palette, I feel I can only get away with these kind of shades in the summertime. So I only have like maybe a 2 to 3 month time span every year where I like using these kind of shades. Another thing that a lot of people have said, and I totally agree with that, is that this isn't the most versatile of palettes. I don't really mind that, because I feel that a lot of these shimmers, like here in the middle, they are so stunning. I love Scorched, I love Dirty Talk, and I really like Cayenne and He Devil. So these are like the 4 shades that I really gravitate towards in this palette. And Ember is also a really nice one to like do a bit of a smoky liner. It has a lot of interest to it, so it can really add a nice little pop to your look. This was of course one of those palettes that definitely had more mattes than shimmers from Urban Decay. It was the first time they really did that, so I think that's why a lot of people appreciated it. Plus, they've definitely upped their game in terms of formula with this. So then we're getting sort of into the realm of favorites, and it was actually really difficult for me to rank these. I thought about this for like a week straight before I sat down to film this video, because I do have to say that with my personal like skin tone, my preferences, this one, the Naked 2, used to be my absolute go-to, my favorite Naked palette for a long, long time. And as you can see, this has definitely gotten a lot more use. All of the shades in here are well loved. I've definitely dug into Chopper here as well. YDK right here, that is just completely mangled. And I really like these like taupes and silvers as well that are in here. Again, for a everyday neutral look that can be a little bit more smoky if you pull in some of the darker shades. This is again a really, really nice palette. In terms of cool tones though, I don't think it's all that interesting. It's definitely very neutral, and I've been playing around with color a little bit more in my looks. So that's why this is no longer the top favorite. But if I want to do something very sort of everyday, perfect for work, then this is still one of my go-to palettes, and I definitely hope they don't discontinue this, because this is one that in the long run, I'm going to need a backup of. So let's talk about the newest addition to the Urban Decay Naked family, and that would be the Naked Cherry. This would be number 2 on the list for me personally. And again, that has to do mostly with the color scheme. I think that these are very, very nice in terms of quality. They are a little bit more on that powdery side. I think they definitely try to emulate a little bit what's going on in the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. It's definitely very pigmented, and the shades in this are absolutely stunning. I really, really like the shade selection of this. I do feel that in terms of versatility, the palette that I put in my number 1 spot is a little bit more versatile than it does this one, and I feel that they are very sort of complementary to each other, because this is a little darker, a little bit more berry, whereas my top one, which I'll be talking to you about in a minute, is much more neutral, a little bit more pink toned, but I think they can actually be used together very, very well as well. So in terms of shade selection, I really gravitate towards sort of the darker half of the palette here. Again, for some reason, that's just what I like using. So I really like Young Love. And the shadow that I go into every single time I use this palette is Devilish, and it's a really, really nice crease shade. The peach shades in here that are more along here are really nice to blend things out, or if you want to do something very natural, but that's not what I would use this palette for, even though it's called a Naked palette. I definitely want to go a little bit more like berry and something a little bit more fun. Some really interesting shades in here that do pack a punch on your lid, which is why I think out of the newer Urban Decay palettes, this does go up there, plainly because of the shade selection. But it still hasn't knocked my favorite Urban Decay Naked palette from its top spot, which would be the Naked 3. Like I said, when Naked 2, like that's my very neutral palette, sort of like your boring browns and taupes, which are quite standard. And if I want a neutral look that's a little different, then I go with this. Whenever I wear this, I get lots of compliments. This is definitely a palette that has to suit your undertone though. I think that if you are very cool or warm, then especially in the original lineup, the original is very perfect for warm tones. If you're very cool toned, then the Naked 2. But if you're like me and you're sort of like in between warm and cool, which, you know, for me, I can just get away with so many different looks and things because all of these palettes work on me to a certain extent, then this may be the best one. I know that a lot of people have said that this palette makes it look like they have pink eye, which I totally understand. But in terms of like shade selection, Trick has a dent in it, most definitely. Mugshot is one I reach for all the time. I really like Factory and Liar. The shades that are especially on this end of the palette I like because they're sort of like taupes, and I'm a really, really big lover of taupe, but without having a very sort of like silvery undertone. I feel they have more of like a rosy undertone, and that just works really, really well against my skin tone. So that's why this one is still in the top spot for me. It has everything I need from darker to lighter. I can do, if I travel and I just take this, I know I will be able to get lots of different looks out of it, and it will just see me through like weeks and weeks and weeks of travel, and I could just bring this one eyeshadow palette, which this is, and that's another reason why this trumps the new Naked Cherry for me, is because I feel that this is a little bit more limited because you only get like a certain color arrangement. So for me, these two share the top spot right now. This one, not only because it is the newest one, but I really enjoy berries in the fall time. Not only on my lips, but also on my eyes. But those are the ways I would rank them and why I like them. And I hope that that can give you a little bit of information when you start deciding whether you want any of these, what is perfect for you. Because I think each palette does something very specific and particular. And if that's not your cup of tea, then I don't think you should get it, because then, you know, why do you have it? For me, I can make all of these work, but some of them are very, very limited, which is why I would put those towards the bottom. And the ones that are the most versatile and the most exciting to me are the ones that I put in the top 3 spots. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. I post new videos twice a week, on Thursday and on Sunday, and my videos go live at 5 a.m. Central European time. So I really hope to see you in my next video. Bye.